the Cookout Coach, and you're listening to the Barbecue Central Show.
Start the game! Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Good evening and welcome to the really big Barbecue Central show. This is the show that talks about all things that are important in the world of barbecue and grilling. The show originating from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city, Bomb City, USA, Cleveland, Ohio, the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I'm your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday evenings, a live fire fun and frivolity show. If you would like to get in contact with the show this evening, or you would like to follow the show during off-show hours, here's how you do all that.
You can get in touch with the show by sending an email to Greg at bbqcentralshow.com. Follow us on all the social media channels at BBQ Central Show. And be sure to subscribe to the show podcast feed on your favorite podcast platform.
Anything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening in case you get the newsletter coming up. In about 12 minutes from now, we tried unsuccessfully a couple weeks ago to have him on, but he has reloaded here for the first hour. The CEO, newish CEO of the Memphis in May barbecue competition, Memphis in May International Festival, which can be found at memphisinmay.org. We welcome in first-timer to the show, Mac Weaver. Really excited to talk to Mac, get to know him. I've done research, no surprise to you. Mac has had quite an interesting previous to Memphis in May career, quite an interesting previous to professional career. So looking forward to learning all about Mac Weaver, how eventually he gets into Memphis in May, and how he eventually rises to the rank of CEO. We'll talk about things that have happened in the past. We'll talk about what's to be expected in 2025 down at the Memphis in May barbecue event this year. All fun and all first hour, so no reason to race right through it. If you have any questions as we get along, make sure you pop them in the chat, and I will mix them in as I see fit. And then we'll move to the second hour, where we'll be joined by the fourth Tuesday of the month regular guests. All of them holding one, but we do have a fill-in. It is the Embedded Correspondents. We tried last month. Remember, last month at this time, we were in the teeth of what ended up being a Google Chrome update incompatibility issue where guests weren't able to connect, and it was a travesty. It was, you know, you can't say Google when you have a Google phone, because then it starts to want to talk to you. Sorry. In any event, there were connection issues. That's why the guests couldn't connect in via the G. They've got it figured out. Everybody update to 133, version 133 of Google Chrome, if you aren't already. And that way, if you ever needed to call into the show, you know you're going to get in. Otherwise, might not work out too well. This thing seems to update itself most of the time, although we had a 2-week span when it didn't. Anyway, sitting in tonight for our pal Jon Solberg, a guy who you will see next week in his normal 14 past the second hour, first Tuesday of the month run, Sam the Cooking Guy. Always fun to mix Sam in with the normal barbecue folk that visit in. Fourth Tuesday of the month, see what his take might be. We have a long and new and well-rounded 100% Assurity questions list that we'll go through with him. And then, and I doubt we will have time, there has been a long-standing topic that we're supposed to address once we get through a list of 100% Assurity questions. And I always think that this is going to be the month, but inevitably, this isn't going to be the month because Sam and Doug and Rusty and Matt, so much nonsense is ahead of us, we couldn't possibly get through what is a rather extensive list of Assurity questions, only to get to what is a really great topic. The good news is this isn't something where if we don't get to it in the next handful of weeks, it's not going to be worth talking about. This is evergreen content whenever we get to it. So that's how the show is laying out here this evening. In a few minutes from now, Mac Weaver, CEO of Memphis in May, second hour Embedded Correspondents with special friend sitting in, Sam the cooking guy. Don't forget you can follow me socially, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat, LinkedIn, all at the handle at BBQ Central Show. We say good evening to those of you watching tonight through one of our video streaming platforms. You can go to facebook.com/BBQ Central Show or twitter.com/BBQ Central Show. You can also watch on YouTube, which is youtube.com/@BBQ Central Show. We have a new YouTube poll question of the week that we're asking everybody, including all guests. Before last week's interview, you knew who Byron Chisholm was, and currently 90% of you are saying yes, indeed you did. Not too long ago, it was 75-25, but I'll take 90-10 every day of the week. I, of course, knew who Byron Chisholm was well before the show even got to its live format, February 7th of 2008, if you can believe it. And, as I had mentioned last week or 2 weeks ago, when I thought I had him on for the first time towards the end of last year, that was wrong. I'd actually had him on in 2008. There was a best of. So go back through the best ofs and listen to the first time that Byron Chisholm was on, and then realize I will have no recollection of the fact that he was on then, thinking that his first time was in 2024, which is wrong. We have some reaction to the show from last week. It's a toss-up. But inevitably, Terry in Kentucky has emailed the show. And Terry is my good, long-time frenemy. So I'm going to be going with Terry here.
Terry?
No offense to Fuss from Fuss and Family Barbecue. We'll get to you at the top of the second hour, Fuss. Because your email was great as well. Terry from Kentucky writing in, Greg, so let's get this straight. You go on and on 2 weeks ago about speaking correctly and doing this right and all of this stuff. Then, this past Tuesday, you misspeak many times. For instance, you said when talking to Steven Reichlin that you boil check your thermometers in water that is 102 degrees. That's wrong. It's 212 degrees for most folks. Number two, you have said on many occasions that you should never do the hand touch method when checking doneness of steaks. But you say nothing to Steven Reichlin when he said that it was a perfectly acceptable way to check doneness in lieu of a thermometer. And number three, while I think you were trying to say the word muscular, instead you said something along the lines of muscular. That's wrong. As I mentioned in the beginning of the email, if you're going to correct people, you should probably be perfect yourself. The above shows you are hardly perfect. Love the show. Regards, Terry.
Terry?
From Kentucky. Terry, in my defense, when I was listening back to the show Wednesday during the Steven Reichlin segment, I heard it. I said 102 degrees. my next thought wasn't, I better figure how I'm going to correct this before Terry in Kentucky emails me to call me on the carpet, although it should come as no surprise to me at this point, Terry. You love the show so much. I was wrong there, unequivocally. Why did I not tell or take Steven Reichland to task on the hand touch thing for steak doneness? Forgive me. Look, honestly, Terry, there was a fleeting moment when I thought I was going to actually do it last week, and a younger me would have done it. But a long into middle-aged me didn't think that, given the fact that it had been 7 months since I had had a conversation with a barbecue icon, maybe next time I'll call him out on the carpet if he says it again. I'll let it slide this time. So forgive me for being a hypocrite, Terry, but that's kind of where I live in hypocrisy. And in regards to saying muscular, you claim to be a fan of the show, but every time, in lieu of the word muscular, which is the right word, I have always said muscular. Some fan you are. Terry, you're working on being banned from the show, and I'm not even kidding. I might ban you from the internet. I have that ability. Mac Weaver's in the green room. Before we get to him, I will talk to you quickly about Pits and Spits, and we'll kick things off with our favorite new product, or two products. First, the Pits and Spits griddle, the gas griddle that combines the power of a traditional grill with the versatility of a flat-top griddle. Engineered with precision, crafted from high-quality materials, the versatile griddle is set to revolutionize your outdoor cooking experience. Constructed of 304 marine-grade stainless steel, fully welded design, the griddle comes with 4 burners to accurately manage your heat zone and gets blistering hot with 80,000 BTUs. Of course, for those of you building your ultimate outdoor kitchen right now, you have to check out the built-in pellet grill that Pits and Spits is putting out for sale. Designed for the discerning grill master who demands top-tier performance, this grill, the centerpiece for any serious outdoor kitchen. From low and slow smoking to high-heat searing, the grill can handle it all. Brisket, ribs, pizzas, veggies, you name it, this grill can cook it. And with Pits and Spits' legendary craftsmanship, you can be confident it's built to last with stainless steel construction and a design that's as reliable as it is versatile. So, you ready to take your cooking to the next level? Head on over to pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central Show. That's pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central Show and use promo code BBQ Central for a free spice pack with orders over $500. Once again, the website, pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central Show, and that's the double T on the Pits and the Spits as you spell it all out. And then promo code BBQ Central for a free spice pack with orders over $500 or more. Longtime sponsor of the show, Pits and Spits. We're back with Mac Weaver right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Broadcasting live from the Barbecue Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Welcome back. This portion of the show brought to you by Fireboard, makers of Fireboard 2, Fireboard Pro, Fireboard Spark, Fireboard Beacon, and the new Fireboard Pulse. When you use the Fireboard app, you have total access to all devices anywhere in the whole world. Find out more by visiting fireboard.com or call 816-945-2232. I got to get a beacon in my cigar humidor. ASAFP. Ted, we got to make that happen. My first guest tonight, the current president CEO of Memphis in May International Festival. Before that, serving as Memphis in May's executive vice president and CFO, but for the last year has been leading from the front here to talk about his background and what the 2025 version of Memphis in May might look like. First-time guest Mac Weaver joining us here on the show. Mac, appreciate you making time here this evening. I know you're staying late in the city to do it live on the Barbecue Central show, which I appreciate. Before we get to everything, we have a YouTube poll question of the week that we're asking everybody watching on YouTube and, of course, all guests. And the question is this. Before last week's interview, you knew who Byron Chisholm was, yes or no?
No.
Have you ever heard of Bad Byron's butt rub?
Yes, I have.
Yes. Then you know who Byron Chisholm is. So there you go. How about that? Byron Chisholm, the actual name of the guy that founded and is purveying Butt Rub, which is like, I think it's been out for 30 years. Actually, I think he said 97 or 98 when he actually brought it to market. That's been around a long time, Mac.
That's a very long time. Greg, thank you for having me.
Absolutely my pleasure. And doing some research on you going all the way back to, let's say, high school and then college, Mac Weaver has a fairly prolific football career before he gets involved in anything else, earning All-American rights at South Carolina State University.
Wow.
When did you realize you were kind of a football stud?
Actually, football was not my first love.
Really?
It was reading and books.
Of course.
But coming from meager backgrounds, not having much money, I had to figure out a way to get a scholarship to get college education. And just so happened I was pretty good at football as well. So I had an opportunity to play football, but I actually wanted to go to the military. I was taking the Air Force exam, and I was pretty much a shoe-in, but my father asked me to go off to college first, and if I didn't like it, the military was always going to be there. So,
unquestionably, the military is always there, and I don't know a lot of people that are even thinking about the military. I mean, I don't talk to all of the people of the country, but I often wonder if the call to service continues to diminish over the decades. Do you have a thought on that?
I think it does. I have a younger brother that actually decided he was going to do the military because college wasn't for him. And he started out doing 2 years, and he just finished his 24th year 2 years ago. So he ended up making a career of it.
When you're in high school and your passion is books and study and academics, but you're trying to figure out a way on how you're going to make that football thing happen, is this something early in high school where you realize you're going to need to play the sport to kind of get you into the college look? Or do you even start, are you one of those guys that was a sophomore in high school and was like, well, I better get on the football field here and see what I got?
Well, actually, I was a pretty small guy. So my math teacher, she was very concerned with me being out on the field with all the bigger guys. But my thing was always, you can't hit what you can't catch. So being small, I was very quick. So I was a receiver going into college. And after going across the middle once in college and getting hit, after I woke up, I tell the story all the time. It was my roommate who was a middle linebacker. He got a good hit on me. After I woke up, I said, hey, coach, I can play defense too. And so he said, let's see what you have. And so I became a defensive back. So,
was it important to attend an HBCU, or is that where the scholarship interest came from and more or less you were ready to go wherever that was going to be coming from?
It wasn't. HBCU wasn't the top of mind. To be honest, the top of mine was to get as far away from Memphis as I could. And when I looked at the scholarship offers, and at the time you have a map and you look at all the placement, South Carolina, it was between South Carolina and Bethune-Cookman. And only thing I knew about Bethune-Cookman was it was Mary Cloud Bethune, and she had something to do with hair. So I immediately thought, that's a women's college. Let me go to South Carolina State. Not knowing that Bethune-Cookman was actually in Florida, where I wanted to really be. But I wouldn't change the decision at all.
So going through a HBCU, is there a misconception, or is there something that the normal person doesn't know that you like to tell a story about, or that you like to give an anecdote about as it relates specifically to HBCUs?
Well, thinking back on an HBCU, I was comfortable in that environment because it was very similar to the environment that I came from. So I was able to excel in that environment. And I look back on it now and I can appreciate that. And there were instances, because I was so far from home, one of the first comments I made to my mom was, I wanted to get far away from home. Didn't mean to get this far. And at the time, that was 18 hours away from Memphis. Now I can get there in probably probably about 9 hours if you drive, driving, because of the interstate system now.
You get out of college, we're going to go to work now, and this is before you get into Memphis in May. What other positions, or what positions do you start with, and what do you end up getting into?
Well, my very first job out of high school, in my summer months working back home, I worked in the hotel industry, and I was working at a hotel as a bellman over the summer, and it was pretty good money, as well as when I came back to Memphis, I went back to that hotel and I started working as a desk clerk, and I quickly went from desk clerk to front desk manager, and started with the night audit department, and it just blossomed from there. I left that hotel and went to the South's Grand Hotel, the Peabody Hotel, where I was working as a credit manager at that hotel, and I was one of two Black managers at the time, and I was part of that organization, and I was really happy. And I got that phone call one day asking if I was interested in the position at Memphis in May.
Did you know, I mean, growing up in Memphis, I assume knowing about Memphis in May is like telling time. Everybody knows about it. Yes. But when you get the call, what does it mean to you? And then what are you thinking as the pitch is being made?
Well, to be honest, Memphis in May was in dire straits at the time. This is in 99, and the festival had just come off of a very hard year, and they were $692,000 in debt.
Wow.
All right. But go back farther than that. As a youth, I had attended some Memphis in May events, and I've always known about Memphis in May. So I knew that May was a wonderful time in our city, and that it was something that everyone learn or look forward to. So I entertained the idea, but again, I was in a very comfortable position in a corporate job where I was moving up in the ranks, and I took the chance on an organization, a nonprofit, to come and do something for the city. And looking back on it now, it was the right decision.
Do you come in as EVP, or do you come in at a different level?
No, I came in as the finance director.
Oh,
yes. Right. And so, yeah.
How quickly are you moving up?
After the first year, and we were able to turn things around, we went from $692,000 in debt to $1.3 million in the bank. So we were able to erase the yes, in a year. We were able to erase the debt. And that showed not only the resilience of the staff at the time, but of the city. The city embraced the organization. And I saw how people were willing, or businesses, not just people, but businesses were willing to help this organization survive. And this organization was very important to the city back then. And so we had several different companies that we owed that $692,000 to, and there were only two organizations that would not forgive or work with us that year. One went out of business the very next year, and the other we paid off, and they left the city probably 3 years afterwards. So, but everyone that was willing to work with us, we assured them that they would get first right of refusal the following year if we were able to turn this thing around, and we were.
That's a huge turnaround, by the way,
Yes.
to go 692 in the hole to plus $1 million for the right side. That's an incredible turnaround. James Holt has a pretty long run as CEO before you end up getting. When he announces his retirement, is there a big behind the scenes of who's going to be the next CEO? Are there succession plans already in place? How does that work?
Well, we had been working on a succession plan, and there was a discussion had with me several months prior to his decision. And it was, what if this, what if that? And what was I willing to do, and what part was I willing to play? And I did let him know that I would be willing to step in to help the organization to make sure that we stayed straight until we get that person in place.
So are you CEO for good, or are you CEO for now?
No, I am CEO for good.
All right, good.
I'm sorry, I left that.
Doesn't matter. I mean, I'm always happy to get CEOs, but it seems like you're doing a pretty good job. So
yeah, well, I think I am. I've been here now 26 years. I know, like Jim and I would joke, I know where the bodies are buried, and I know this like the back of my hand. And the thing is, I really care about this organization. I wouldn't have been here that long if I hadn't, or if I don't.
The past few years, and I'm the prototypical outsider looking in, but it seemed a bit tumultuous. You have the Tom Lee Park damage saga, and then the entrance of a brand new barbecue event that happens to be on the same exact weekend as Memphis in May. So if we could take them separately, and as much you want to talk about it. Where does the Tom Lee Park damage complaint stand as we sit here end of February 2025?
All right. Well, the damage complaint, it's really, we repair every year for every year that I've been here. And like I said, I've been here 26 years. There's always been damage to Tom Lee Park after a festival of our size for the entire month. Not once have we not repaired that park back to its natural state after we have completed. Not once. So to receive a bill in the amount of what we received, we had questions that couldn't be answered or wasn't answered sufficiently. And then we were served with a lawsuit or a judgment requesting payment. And we did what came natural to us, which was to fight those charges. And we're in court dealing with that now. And it's still unresolved.
Is there a timetable on when you think that might close out?
We're working through it in litigation. It's still out there. I will say we did get a court date set, and that's in September of this year.
September. That seems like it's 7 months away still. Oh, my goodness. So the lawyers are winning in the end, right? Oh, my goodness. They're always winning, these lawyers. All right. I remember, everything's a couple of years ago to me, but Carol Coletta had told me through a LinkedIn post that the renovations to Tom Lee Park were made through the specific instruction of Memphis in May, basically saying that they built the park to your spec. Is that true?
I don't know. The park was not built to spec. I don't know what Carol told you, or I'm not going to comment on what she said, but I know the specs that we looked at and the things that we agreed upon, those items were not met. When we got to the park that we expected was not the park that we received.
Do you think, pure speculation, if we can throw that out here before I even bother asking the question, but do you feel that Memphis River Park's partnership might have been trying to push you guys out because they had a Smoke Slam event in their back pocket and they were ready to go that following year?
Greg, I really don't have an answer for that. I want to move past that.
Yep.
I'm dealing with it. We're dealing with it in court. All the other things, all the other events that they're doing down there, it's quite odd that they're exactly what we were doing, just under a different name.
Do you think it would be better for Memphis as a whole if you guys weren't competing on the same weekend? If Memphis in May was your weekend and then either the weekend before or the weekend after Smoke Slam is taking place, and that way Memphis might own the barbecue world for the better part of 2 weeks.
I think that would be the logical thing to do. You know, it has been Memphis in May, or it has been the World Championship Barbecue Cooking Contest. This will be the 47th edition.
Wow.
And it's always been that third or middle week in May. I know for at least the last